Welcome to First Date, a panel talk show on the Reader Seeks Romance channel that celebrates debut romance authors with recent and upcoming releases. I am your matchmaking host, Liz Donatelli. It is a thrill for me to introduce 4 new romance authors who will set your hearts aflutter with their summer 2024 debut romances. May Bennett is the author of Barely Even Friends, pub date June 4th. Jess Christine is the author of When You Left Me Speechless, pub date June 18th. Katie Kennedy is the author of Hearts on Thin Ice, pub date June 18th. Maggie North is the author of Rules for Second Chances, pub date June 25th. Welcome, authors, and congratulations on your debut romance releases.
Hi.
Hi, Liz.
Thank you for having us.
Let's begin, as all first dates do, with an icebreaker. Tell me something about yourself that others would be surprised to learn. Jess, why don't you begin first, being you have watched every episode of First Date?
I should not have told you that.
I would imagine you have something already in mind. So what's something would you be surprised to learn about you?
So I'm actually a licensed speech language pathologist, which kind of goes along with my book. The main female character is getting her master's to become a speech language pathologist. So I pulled a lot from like my own experiences when writing. But yeah, I've been a speech therapist since 2015, and I work mostly with brain injured adults.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to ask what different types of speech therapy is offered, because I'd imagine there's speech impediments. Then, like you said, when there's a brain injury, is there speech therapy for people with regional accents that want to kind of tone it down? Mm-hmm. Okay. I was wondering if so your discipline is working with adults who've had brain injuries.
Yes.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I asked about the regional accents because when I was in college, I was told that I had to go to speech therapy for my New York accent, which was funny because everybody in my class was from New York and everyone had an accent, but they picked, and I actually had to go to speech therapy classes. And I was wondering if that was a made up thing that they told me I had to do. But I was like, I've never heard of that before for an accent, but it's a thing.
It is a thing. Yeah. A lot of times, I mean, people who are like English speakers second will elect to find a speech therapist that specializes in it. And then even individuals within like the trans community who are trying to change their voice, like either make it higher or lower, might seek out a therapist that specializes in that as well.
Well, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Well, thank you for sharing. Katie, what's something that we would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I once ran from the KGB. When I was in college, I did Russian history, and my roommate and I went to Red Square at midnight to sing Moscow Nights in Russian because she wanted to, and she was very, very drunk. The drunkest I've ever seen someone, and it was before cell phones, and the only way to keep her safe was to go with her. I just had no options. And anyway, after that, it's a long story, but basically a couple guys jumped her and I grabbed her, and the KGB was trying to stop us because they wanted to arrest us. That's a thing. And there was the metro stops at 1 a.m. because the good people should be in bed by then. And we were 45 miles from our hotel. We were leaving the country the next morning, and I had to make that last train, and I could not stop. And so I simply grabbed her and ran with the KGB hot on my heels and managed to get to the station and lose them. And the last train was there and started to move. And she slipped. And I did the only, between the wheels, and I did the only thing I could do, which was to throw her in the car as hard as I could and use the follow through to land in there myself.
Yeah.
And when I finally managed to get up and looked, it was not a completely empty car as it had looked. There were 3 Russian generals in uniform sitting there, and I had thrown an American drunk on their lap. Um,
My goodness.
and yes, it was an exciting evening. I was not sure I would be leaving. Um, but anyway, I ran from the KGB, but I got away.
It sounds like you have a whole series of books that you could write based on that one night.
Yeah, or the various international incidents I've caused. Sure, yeah.
Oh
So
my God. Wow. Well, I did not see that coming, and I feel bad for any author that goes next. Maggie, what is something that we would be surprised to learn about you?
Actually, the surprising thing about me is that all my celebrity encounters are me almost hitting them with my car. I I think the most famous one would be Justin Trudeau, who I almost ran over in an underground parking garage at Christmas time. I should probably mention that this was by accident.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, no, he dashed out into the roadway. It's Canada, so he didn't even have any security. I hit the brakes. He waved. I drove on.
Wow. That's the closest anybody I know has ever gotten to Trudeau. So congratulations.
Thank you.
May, what would we be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I'm not really sure how I can compete with causing international incidents or speech therapy and being an incredible human. But one of the things that came to mind was that my book is about restoring an older home. And one of the questions I've been asked a lot is, what my favorite HGTV shows are and things like that. And I don't enjoy watching. I really enjoy history and different aspects for my main character, but my mom and my sister were obsessed with them, but I'm actually never been that big of a fan, so I don't put them on. So that's my secret shame. I loved writing my book, but I do not have HGTV going on. All the choices for homes and things like that. Like I recently moved to a new place, and just picking a new couch and everything was very overwhelming to me with all the choices and things. So I adore the people who that brings them joy. They deserve to be hired, but I'm not one of those people. So.
Wow, that's a scandalous revelation. That is so I would imagine did that make it harder for you to write the book? Did you have to just talk to your mom and sister a lot about their experiences and what they like? That way you could write knowledgeably, or did you just make a lot of it up and you knew enough?
I mean, there are definitely things that were just chosen for plot purposes. I mean, it's definitely questionable whether that house should even just be condemned and it should have been repaired at the point the book starts at. But no, and I actually got very lucky. One of my beta readers and really early readers works at museums and things, and she actually gave me a lot of feedback or just pointed me to a lot of websites where there's online photos and different pieces of information about historical wallpaper and things. So those parts were fun about learning about that process, but just kind of seeing the process of modernizing homes and just picking out different pieces of tile that would cause me a lot of anxiety. So I definitely picked people's brains who that brings them a little bit more joy. But it also helped me make sure the book is not too heavily the romance is the focus and not the home restoration. So it wasn't too bad.
Thank you all for sharing. Now let me set the scene. You have just scored a meeting with book club tastemakers, Oprah Winfrey, Jenna Bush Hager, and Reese Witherspoon. They are giving you 2 minutes to pitch your debut romance to them. Go! Are you ready, May, to go in and meet Oprah, Jenna, and Reese?
Oh, we're going to pretend I wouldn't just vomit everywhere, but yes.
This is post-vomit.
Okay. Yep,
vomited
exactly.
in the bathroom. Okay.
Yes, there we go. That already makes it more realistic. Awesome. I'm May Bennett. I wrote Barely Even Friends. It's out on June 4th. And it is about a plus-size home restorer who ends up being forced roommate slightly with a grumpy recluse who has hidden himself away from the world in his shambles of a mansion that really needs some restoration. And they're forced to be together while she restores his home. And he does his best to fight her against it until they are forced to work together. And so they might accidentally fall in love at the same time. And there is a cast of characters who might also conspire slightly to help them with that. But it is a lot of fun, home restoration, and yeah.
Okay, now are there any Beauty and the Beast Easter eggs in the book?
There might be 1 or 20. There's also quite a few Taylor Swift Easter eggs. So yeah, there's definitely plenty of nods to fairy tales. And my main character is also a big Swiftie, so that was also very easy to write.
And we'll now be calling in Jess, Christine. Oprah, Jenna, and Reese are ready for you. Are you good to go? Did you already vomit in the bathroom too?
Yeah, definitely. I've been most nervous about this segment specifically. Okay, so my name is Jess Christine, and this is my debut romance, When You Left Me Speechless. It comes out June 18th. It is about a 27-year-old grad student who started school late, and she finds herself in a little bit of a pickle with her like spring externship falling through. So she's scrambling to try to find a place to go, and not really having a lot of luck. So her best friend, who is a lot of fun, decides to take her out for a night to get her mind off of everything and just, relax. And she meets our male main character while at the bar. They hit it off and end up going home together, but then she wakes up the next morning and can't quite remember what happened. So she ditches as fast as she can to get out of there before he wakes up, and ends up, life starts to work out. She finds an externship, and on her first day, he walks into a meeting that she's sitting in, and he's one of the teachers at the school. And so chaos kind of ensues, and they have to kind of like fight their feelings. And then you have to read it to find out what happens.
Is this somewhat inspired by your own experiences, or?
Oh no,
okay.
no. I married my high school sweetheart, so this is not based on a true story. But
I was wondering if maybe this was loosely based on something that you experienced becoming a speech therapist. Okay.
No, definitely fiction.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, thank you for your time. Next up, Katie Kennedy, go on in. Oprah, Reese, and Jenna are waiting for you. Go to it.
Well, I'm Katie Kennedy, and my book is Hearts on Thin Ice. It's a hockey romance, just ready for the playoffs right now. It's a male-female romance. Alyssa Compton is an interior designer. She's dealing with a mean boss and a dysfunctional family, and wants to open her own firm and is not quite ready to do it. But she winds up meeting, and kind of a meet cute, Nick Sorensen, who's a professional hockey player. He was in a plane crash the previous season that killed his 5 best friends, and he was injured. He's now recovered physically. He's in Detroit, with a new team for a new season. And she's been doing projects for the captain's wife, so they meet there. And Nick's coach discovers what his apartment looks like, which is empty, completely desolate. They decide he is perhaps not as recovered as they thought he was, and recovered physically, but not emotionally or psychologically, and gives him a choice of going to counseling, which he clearly should do, or getting his apartment looking somewhat decent and kind of act normal. So he goes for the apartment. Of course, he's met Alyssa, hires her, and she is struggling with the fact that she thinks this is fun and that he should too, and he does not want his apartment done. And so he's a little bit grumpy about the whole thing. There's some trauma there, and she has some issues as well. She finds out that Nick has a lot more depth than she expected. For one thing, he almost has an art degree, and he's living in this completely white space. They use some hockey understandings to move forward together, and to be able to go forward, him from his trauma, and she encourages him. Well, I can't give away the ending, but they work forward
don't
together.
Do that.
Yeah.
We're not giving it away for free, Katie. Excellent. Oprah, Jenna, and Reese are ready for you, Maggie. So go on in.
Oprah, Jenna, Reese, so excited to be pitching you today. I'm Maggie North, and I wrote Rules for Second Chances. I like to say it's Tessa Bailey's Love Her or Lose Her meets Helen Huang. So my main character is named Liz. She's a shy introvert living in an expensive Canadian ski town, a lot like Whistler or Aspen. And she dreams about running eco tours, but she's basically ignored at the Wilderness Expedition Company where she works. But everyone loves her husband, Tobin, who is a cinnamon roll and Thor lookalike, except he is ignoring all the problems in their marriage. So the story starts when Liz gets mistaken for a server at her own 30th birthday party and realizes nobody sees her, especially not her husband. So she tells Tobin she's moving out, and she assigns herself a crash course in social skills based on improv comedy lessons to make herself into promotion material. Unfortunately, she is terrible at improv and no one will practice with her until Tobin offers to save the day with a marriage rescue manual based on improv. He agrees to be her practice partner if she does the marriage book. So I'll stop there, no spoilers, but it turns out improv is funny, sexy, intimate, and very surprising. Tobin and Liz get into some pretty wild improv situations in public and in private. There is a merman costume, is all I'm gonna say about that. This book is really close to my heart. Like me, Liz has undiagnosed autism, and Rules is about what it's like to understand that you don't fit into the world, but not to understand why. And Liz's search for identity and belonging is sometimes funny, sometimes cringy, sometimes sad, but always hopeful.
Now, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Did you say a merman costume?
That's what I said. Merman.
Wow. Okay. All sorts of visuals popping up around here. Okay.
It's a fan favorite.
Haha. Okay. Now, the other question I have is, do you have any firsthand experience with improv?
No, I had signed up for a course at the beginning of the pandemic with my sister. The course was canceled. So I did the improv research for the book by reaching out to a women's improv collective in Vancouver, Canada called Hot Snack Comedy. And these very funny women all agreed to talk to me for book research.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love it. Very cool. Okay. Well, Oprah, Jenna, and Reese will be in touch with your agents and let you know if your books have been selected for their book clubs. If only I had that type of power to to facilitate that for all of you. That would be awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's read the first lines of your novels. So let's start with Maggie. So Maggie, could you please read the first line of Rules for Second Chances?
Mine has an epigraph, so I'll include that.
Okay.
Chapter 1. Action begins with the disruption of a routine. Truth in comedy. The first minute of my 30th birthday party is everything I want it to be.
Katie, you're next. Could you please read the first line of Hearts on Thin Ice?
I'm deeply regretting my first line. But it's chapter 1, Boston, last March. Nick Sorensen pushed his hair out of his eyes. Sorry, guys.
No, you know what's funny is I thought that what you said before that was the first line when you said, I deeply regret. I thought that was it. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting first line.
No, that's just my life. No.
Okay. Is the second sentence there's a little bit more going on?
It had gotten shaggy while he was in the hospital. We open where he's leaving the hospital after the plane crash and going back to his apartment. And his roommate and best friend had died, and the guy's parents have come in and cleaned it out. So he's seeing the apartment for the first time.
Got it.
So he's going to be seeing things in a different way, but you don't understand that has to do with his hair yet. So.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that info. Next would be Jess Christine. When You Left Me Speechless.
Right. What the fuck?
That was delivered with a lot of emphasis. I like that. Very good. Well, that leaves a lot of questions on the floor.
A lot of questions.
Gotta dig into that. Okay, May. Barely Even Friends. Could you please read the first line?
It was impossible to take my father seriously when he wore onesie pajamas.
Thank you for your first line readings. Now let's talk about tropes. Which tropes do you use to tell the love story between your main characters? This is also a chance for you to claim your own tropes. Maybe you wrote something that you're like, hey, this is really good. It's catchy. I think I have started a new trope that now other authors will also use. But you have to say it started here on Reader Seeks Romance. So let's talk about tropes. Let's see, who wants to go first? You know what, Katie, you have not gone first. So what are the tropes in Hearts on Thin Ice, and have you created your own?
Tropes are certainly meet cute, celebrity normie, I guess. I'm not sure if trauma recovery is a trope, but I'm going to say it is. So, and I think in terms of something I would claim for myself as having created flirting through art.
Flirting through art. Now, does that mean painting each other's naked bodies? Or
I hope so.
You hope so?
Well,
does that mean it's not in the book? Or do you mean just like flirting through art, just like because each of you are sharing this very intimate part of yourself and it's kind of flirty? I mean, what degree of flirting through art are we talking about here?
Michelangelo becomes a euphemism.
May, what are the tropes in Barely Even Friends, and what tropes have you created?
So I come from the school of there can never be too many tropes in a book. So I definitely think that there are a lot of tropes in Barely Even Friends. Grumpy Sunshine, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's a romance, which I have to give Rosie Dannon the credit for because I'm pretty positive she came up with the name for that. So I could never take credit, but romance, forced proximity, He Falls First, and Hard. And then the one I would say I probably came up with, although I just haven't come across another book, but Suspenders Kink. My female main character wears suspenders.
Wait, suspenders what?
Kink is what I've been calling it.
Kink. Oh,
yeah.
You know, that just, there's some interesting visuals that came to my mind. Are there suspenders?
If you see the cover.
Oh, that's right. There are suspenders on the cover, but are there at some point, are there suspenders with nothing on underneath type of thing?
The suspenders become involved, although I did write a bonus scene where if I ever did it, but as a thank you to friends who read it early, I circulated it, but there is other secret suspenders scenes on my computer.
Suspender kink. Okay, well that's new. I don't think I've heard any other kinks with clothing mentioned on this show. Although, Jess, being you've watched every episode, you could tell me if that's true because it's been a while since I've recorded a lot of them. Were there any kinks mentioned with clothes?
Not that I remember.
Not that you remember.
That's
okay,
a new one.
All right, that's a new one. Maggie, what tropes are in Rules for Second Chances? Which tropes, if any, did you create?
So Rules for Second Chances is a second chance romance. That is my super favorite trope. Have to include that. It's also a marriage in trouble, which is kind of a lightning rod. Not everybody likes that, but I went there. It's also a workplace romance / rivalry. Opposites attract. She's the grump. He's the sunshine. He falls first, and only one imaginary pirate ship.
Only one imaginary pirate ship. That is fascinating. I don't even want to ask any questions because I don't want to ruin the magic. Okay, Jess, what are the tropes in When You Left Me Speechless, and have you created any?
Okay, so there's like workplace and college, because she's in grad school, but it mostly takes place at the elementary school that they're working at. Let's see, there's like friends with benefits to lovers, I think is how you write that one. He Falls First and Harder, Forbidden Love, and Logan, the main male character, plays pickleball. So there has been some questions whether or not it's a pickleball sports romance.
You're the first to claim pickleball romance on this show, on
Here
any
I
of
am.
my shows. So it's yours. Well, there's some interesting tropes in there. Let's talk about heat levels. Where does your novel fit into this keto that I've created? Sweet, sexy, steamy, safe word. I rarely have anyone with the safe word because that's usually erotic romance. And I haven't really come across anyone with erotic romance or anything of a BDSM nature. So I figure we're dealing with sweet, sexy, and steamy. Barely even friends. Now, you mentioned the suspender kink. So should I assume that you're up around steamy?
I would say it's probably up around steamy, but I would also say it probably depends on how many Kindle Unlimited books someone else probably already has on their e-reader. But it's definitely an open door romance, multiple open door romance scenes. I use all the descriptive words and things like that. So if that's your jam, then this is definitely the book for you. So it's not a closed door romance. I will definitely promise that.
Okay, got it. Okay, very good. Let's see. Maggie, what is the heat level of rules for second chances?
So backstory, one time as a relative newbie on romance Twitter, I made an accidentally controversial tweet about heat levels. So I'm very careful about categorizing my heat level now. But I would count myself to Kate Claiborne or maybe Rachel Lynn Solomon's The X Talk, meaning there's one open door love scene around the middle of the book and a couple of subsequent scenes where it's fade to black, maybe somewhere between sexy and steamy.
Got it. Jess, what is the heat level of When You Left Me Speechless?
Okay, so I have watched some of these, and I think you said, Liz, that if there is toy play, that it's steamy.
Yes.
So it is steamy.
Okay, well, thank you. Just,
Yeah.
this is very validating. I think you might be First Date's #1 fan, I have to say.
Well, I will say that I have to prepare. I'm a bit, I didn't mention it earlier, but my main character, she's anxious and she's a little bit like me and like has very type A. And so I had to do my homework and my research before.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Katie, what is the heat level of Hearts on Thin Ice?
I'd say it's steamy, or at least light steam. What is the point of having sex with a hot hockey player and not having sex with a hot hockey player? So.
Okay, I mean, I can't argue with that. Oh, this is a question I love to ask. What is your romance writing superpower? So this is your chance as debut authors to show yourself a little self-love and brag a little bit about what you feel at this point in your debut romance writing careers is your superpower.
So my romance writing superpower, I would have thought actually it was unusual metaphors. For example, in the book, Liz, my main character, calls herself, quote, nothing but a primal scream in a beige blouse. So, but actually after readers got hold of the book, I noticed they were talking about the angst. Like one of my favorite reviews, the reader said she cried through the entire second half of the book. So looks like tears. Bring the buckets and the tissues.
Katie, what is your romance writing superpower?
I skew funny. So funny sex.
Did you say funny sex? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little funny if you think about it.
Funny sex. Like, are they cracking jokes during?
I mean, there might be some of that. And I did pause my husband at one point during marital festivities and said, that's good. I need to write this down.
Well, that's interesting. Romance writing superpower, May.
I think to Maggie's point about feedback, I think my sex scenes in Barely Even Friends, people have definitely enjoyed them. So it's definitely a big part of the plot, which I appreciated that they felt like the sex scenes drove the book forward. I definitely have two people who are a bit too stubborn to admit their feelings, but they seem to keep getting trapped in the house together. So what else are you going to do?
I mean, yeah, especially when there's suspenders around. Jess, what is your romance writing superpower?
So I asked a friend what she thought who read the book, and she said making pickleball hot. But
You think of older adults, you know, in their golden years playing pickleball. But I know, at least in Ohio where I live, like there's a lot of much younger people like really taking to the
Yeah.
sport and finding their community. So
yeah, our cul-de-sac plays every week in our cul-de-sac. So I drew a lot of pickleball inspiration, and it's a lot of fun puns can come from the sport.
Oh.
Pickles and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Could you give us
dink.
a pun that was maybe in the book, or-
The main character's pickleball team is Dink and Balls.
So did you say Deke and balls?
Dink, like D-I-N-K, that's the sound the pickleball makes on the paddle.
Oh.
So yeah. But I do think after like listening to like my beta readers and stuff and having other people read it, I think I do a good job at writing really relatable characters. And that was a big goal of mine. The main character suffers from anxiety, and that's something I suffer with too. So it was really important for me that I got that right, and that readers would be able to relate to the characters in the book, see themselves within the characters.
Now on to your book dedications. Who did you dedicate your debut romance novel to, and why? And could you please read it for us? Jess.
So I dedicated mine to my husband. We are high school sweethearts, and this year I think is 17 years we've been together.
Oh, nice.
So it says, to my husband, thank you for always believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. I'm so glad you are my happily ever after. I love you.
Very sweet. Was it difficult figuring out who to dedicate your debut to?
I did play around with like a couple other options, but I just kept landing back on my husband. He's like, I came up with the idea for the book coming home from work one day and told him I was going to write a book, and he was like all in from day one, like never even questioned anything I was doing. So I wouldn't have done it without his support. So well deserved.
Excellent. May, who did you dedicate Barely Even Friends to?
So I dedicated Barely Even Friends to my mom. So she always encouraged me to read, and growing up she actually was a massive romance reader, so I never kind of grew up with like a stigma of, you know, reading romance is bad or not being encouraged to. She had like a Harlequin subscription, so I had those covers coming into the house all the time, so I always felt really encouraged. And when I admitted to her that I was writing a book, she was incredibly supportive and immediately just wanted to read it. So I send my mom all of my drafts with just the caveat of, I refuse to speak about the sex scenes with you, and let's not talk about them. And otherwise, I have no problem sending her my books. So the dedication to Barely Even Friends is for moms who always believed I could be anything, even an author.
Oh, that's so sweet. Now, I'm assuming you didn't have any difficulty picking your mom to be the first dedication.
No, I mean, I think similar to Jess, I also kind of debated doing a couple different things, but yeah, I feel like once I knew I was going to be published, and you kind of have those thoughts and about acknowledgements. My acknowledgements go on for a very long time, and I think my cat is my acknowledgements, but because I'm cool like that. But no, it was pretty clear, even though my mom seemed shocked. I think she also got a kick out of it too. So.
Oh, that's very sweet. Okay, Maggie, who did you dedicate Rules for Second Chances to?
So I dedicated it to my husband and my daughter, and it reads for Jackson Thunderbolt and Mackenzie Thunderbolt North, who successfully argued that since I got to choose my pseudonym, they should get to choose theirs too. And it means a lot to me because the book is really about being as authentically weird as you are. And so it's really wonderful to have my own crew of incredible weirdos at home.
That's awesome. Excellent. So Katie, who did you dedicate Hearts on Thin Ice to?
I dedicated it to my parents. This is for my parents, John Robert McFarland and Helen Carr McFarland, who showed me what happily ever after looks like. They're having their 65th anniversary a couple of weeks before this comes out. So I thought, well, 65 years, that's, that should be done.
That's wonderful. Congratulations to them.
if I were going to have dedicated it elsewhere, I have a cousin, Kira Vermont, who writes as well, and we give each other prompts for our books. Something that you have to, a little homage to the other one that you have to work into your book. She gave me a gerbil. I have a gerbil in here, Mrs. Gilroy, and that's, you don't know till the acknowledgments. My editor never knows what it is. I never tell them what, why a certain thing is in there.
Yeah.
The gerbil is in there as a tip of the hat to Kira. She was not able to work in, and it's a pretty cutthroat competition, and it's only so friendly. We're trying to get each other. In her last book, she was not able to work in a butterfly patch that I had asked her to put in.
Yeah.
So she dedicated the book to me as a greatly one-upping the little hidden tip of the hat. So I thought I should probably return the favor, but I didn't. So.
But I didn't.
I didn't.
Oh, you're ruthless.
I am, right? Well, my parents,
Well, now it is time for the fun segment, the ROMFIC list. Authors name the top 4 answers in various romance fiction categories. This is not based on surveys, as in the game show Family Feud. The answers are based on my own experiences and conversations I've had with romance readers and writers. Each answer is assigned points in increments of 25. So it's a 100-point answer, 75, 50, and 25. Your buzzer is the title of your book. 4 fairy tales that have inspired romance fiction retellings.
When you left me
Barely even
speechless.
friends.
Idiot beast.
Okay. I think I heard when first. So,
Okay.
Jess.
I'm sorry, May. Beauty and the Beast.
All right, Jess Christine, you get 100 points. That's the number 1 answer. Okay. So the number 1 answer is off the board. We still have second, third, and fourth.
Rules for second chances.
Maggie.
Cinderella.
Cinderella is the number 2 answer. You get 75 points. We've got the number 3 and the number 4 answers left. And by the way, you can buzz in again, even if you've answered one, just so you know. You can
Okay.
buzz in as many times as you want.
Barely even
Heart something
friends.
nice.
I heard barely that time. So, May.
Snow White.
Snow White is the number 3 answer. That's 50 points. We're going in order. So now we have left the number 4 answer.
Heart something nice. Sleeping Beauty.
That is correct. That is the 25-point answer. So all of you swept that category. We are off to a good start. 4 least popular romance fiction tropes. The least popular.
Rules for second chances.
Barely in friends.
Okay, Maggie.
Secret Baby.
Secret Baby. I actually put that at number 2, the number 2 answer. So that is 75 points. Okay, so we have number 1, 3, and 4.
When you left me speechless.
Jess, when you left me speechless, what do you have?
Miscommunication.
No.
No?
Good answer, but it's not on the board. 4 least popular romance fiction tropes.
Barely
Heart
even
something
friends.
nice.
I heard barely that time. Okay, what do you have for us, May?
Marriage in Trouble.
No, that is not on the list of least popular. Let's at least not based on my experiences.
Heart
Rules
something
for second
nice.
chances.
Katie, hearts on thin ice.
Betting or a bet.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, but I did not put that on. I hate the bets. Oh God. The
Yeah.
bets. Yeah. No, that isn't on it. Okay. So we have the number 1, number 3, number 4 answers. Secret Baby's off the board. Who wants to weigh in?
Barely even friends.
May.
Cheating.
Well, I mean, that isn't popular, but no. Who else wants to weigh in?
Rules
Heart
for
something
second
nice.
chances.
Rules for second chances, I heard.
Age gap.
No, actually, a lot of people seem to like the age gap, at least in my circles. Okay, let's try that again. Another round. Come on.
Heart something nice.
Go ahead, Katie.
Incognito.
Oh, like a secret identity type?
Yeah.
No. but thank you. I don't care for mistaken identity so much, but it's not there. Okay. Anybody else?
When you left me speechless.
Go ahead, Jess.
Like that step brother, stepsister, stepfather, like
Oh, yeah. You mean like
that-
forbidden, borderline
But-
incestuous? Yeah.
yeah.
No, that is not on the list.
I don't know.
Billionaire?
No. Okay, number 1 answer, Insta love. Number 3 answer, love triangle.
Oh, sure.
Fair
And
enough.
number 4, fated mates.
Really?
Really?
I mean, is what I'm saying gospel? No. But it is, in my experience, I have come across that a lot, is that people don't like fated mates.
I can't believe we missed triangles, though.
Yeah.
I was going to give a clue, but I didn't know how to give one. That wouldn't give it away. 4 popular non-human romance protagonists. Now, this excludes shifters and any other non-human that presents as human.
Barely even friends.
May.
Minotaur?
Ooh, good one. Very specific, but no.
I just read one, so.
Okay, 4 popular non-human romance protagonists. Who wants to give it a
Rules for
try?
second chances.
Okay, rules for second chances. Maggie.
I don't know if this is on the list, but I have to. Like, I think I am contractually obligated to say merman.
Oh, no, but I'd like to think this is going to start a trend. Actually, the merman protagonist could be another trope you've started. Who knows? You know, fingers crossed.
Hearts on thin ice.
Okay, Katie.
Dragons?
Ooh, good one, but no.
When you left me speechless,
Jess.
like a demon.
Demons is the number 3 answer. That is 50 points. Okay, so we've got the number 1, number 2, and number 4 answers still open.
Barely even friends.
May.
I'm not sure this falls in the rules, but vampire? Or does that present human too much?
It presents as human, so I did not include
Okay.
vampires.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Rules for second chances.
Maggie.
I feel like for the past month, a lot of women would choose the bear.
You know what's interesting? I would agree with you, but here's the thing. I thought they were shifters. Are they human to bear shifters, or are they straight up just bears?
These would be just bears. Have you followed the online discourse where it is you're in the woods alone, you're a woman,
Maybe.
would you choose a strange man or a strange bear?
Maybe you should get on Threads, Liz.
I don't. Yeah, maybe
Maybe you
I
shouldn't.
should. Okay, so I agree. Bears are showing up, but I thought they were shifter bears. I didn't realize they were real bears, so I didn't put it on the list, on the board. But that's interesting. These are actually like, all right, sure.
It's more cultural than romantic, but go to
Yeah.
there.
When you left me speechless?
Ooh,
I think
Jess.
I think I have one. Like, okay, well, like a fae or a fairy. Is that too human? I wasn't sure.
I almost put that down, but I felt like it was, well, actually, no, I almost put it down, but I felt like I hadn't been hearing a lot of that lately, but it could
Okay.
just be because I don't have my ear low enough to the ground. I don't know,
Okay.
but it was a good answer. Good try. Anybody else want to try to guess?
Barely
Non-human.
even-
Oh, go ahead, May.
Loch Ness Monster.
You know, I think I just saw that is coming out. Is it Lana
Yeah,
Ferguson?
Lana,
yeah. It's really good. You want it.
Really? Interesting. Okay. I'll consider it.
When you left me speechless, like an ogre. I feel like
Okay. I'm going to try
I just
to
feel like I see this like the same few books with
Okay,
ogres circulating a lot.
see, I feel like what you're saying is what I'm thinking of, but it's not an ogre. It's another
like a-
word.
Oh, I don't
Okay. That's my
I don't
clue.
know.
Okay. You're close.
What's this? This made
it
me
like
think
a-
of something else. Oh.
Go ahead. That's okay, May. You could go.
Yeah, go.
Oh,
I don't know.
This blue aliens. Ice Planet Barbarians.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. The number 2 answer is aliens. So you
Okay.
get aliens. That's 75. So we only have the number 1 and the number 4 answer. Does anyone want to give it another try?
Yeah.
I'll give another clue. Lord of the Rings.
Orcs?
Who just said orcs?
Oh,
Orc?
yes. Yeah, that's the
Really?
series. Yes.
Katie, that is the number one answer.
Woohoo!
There's a whole book series of them. That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Finn Finley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
That's what
Yes,
I.
yeah.
That's what
Wrong
I-
creature.
Yeah. And the number 4 answer is gargoyle.
Oh, there's that series too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed.
Don't be, because also, when it's a pressure situation, I get it. 4 popular historical romance time periods that are not Regency England.
Rules for second chances.
Fairly Friends.
Maggie,
Victorian England.
you got it. Victorian's the number 1 answer, Maggie. Okay, so we've got the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Gilded Age?
Yes, was that Katie? Katie, Gilded Age, yes. So Katie, that is number 2, 75. We have the number 3 and 4 answers. You could just yell it out at this point.
Medieval.
Okay, medieval, 50 points. Let's give a hint. Leif Erikson.
Oh, Viking?
Viking.
I was going way back into my global histories. Yes, Viking. Maggie, you got Viking. That is the 25 point answer. So, Maggie, you've got 250 points. May, you got 125. You got 150, Jess. And Katie has... It's a tie between Katie and Maggie. It's time for a tiebreaker. Let's just do whoever gets the next one right will
Sudden
win.
death.
This is the category, Katie and Maggie. Top 5 reasons for a fake relationship.
Rules for second chances.
Okay, Maggie, go for it.
For a job.
To keep a job / promotion. There you go. You just broke the tie. You got it.
Yeah.
And so Maggie, you were quick on the draw. You are our winner. You're our first place winner. I hope you had fun. Okay, maybe not.
We did. Thank
No,
you.
it was fun.
Thank you, May Bennett, Jess Christine, Katie Kennedy, and Maggie North for joining me here on First Date. I wish all of you continued success and happy writing. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Liz.
Thank you.